a given. But and here's I was talking to Steve in the last segment. We go to all kinds of racetracks, and trust me, we've been in Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You've seen some boobies. I mean, you watch a movie, you're going to see some boobies. I mean, and they charge. I brought this up as well, Rick. They charge us for everything. A stream for this, a stream for that. You can buy an extra stream in NASCAR or IndyCar to watch the in-car camera views. You can buy the MLB packages to get. They should have a stream that says the uncensored sports cast, so we get to hear the cuss words, because those are people that aren't offended by hearing cuss words, for people that aren't offended by seeing boobies, for people who aren't offended by seeing drunk people falling on their asses. I mean, all the stuff that we see while we're there. But and here's the other thing: they banned these women from any MLB activity for life. One, I don't know how they're going to enforce that, because it's not like anybody saw their face. No, but here's the other thing.
Well, here's what I'll say about it though. The two that did it weren't just two random women. These two are, if you dig into it, they're actually models.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was getting ready to say.
At hockey games, so people know who they are. I mean, I don't know how they would enforce it, because if they just walk into a game somewhere, the security guard or the gate guard or whatever you want to call it isn't going to recognize them. So I don't really know how they would force it.
Facial recognition. But here's the thing, no, that's exactly right. They're Instagram models, and they
right,
advertise. Yeah. MLB should be thanking them, because they advertise, we're going to be at this game. We're going to be sitting here right behind home plate. We know they didn't buy the tickets. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. But we know that somebody got the tickets for them. And they promoted that they were going to do this. And so watch Game 5. We're not sure exactly when we're going to be able to do it, but we're going to show you, I don't remember exactly what it said, but they have thousands of followers on Instagram, and maybe I should follow up. I don't know. But but you're right. They go to a lot of different sporting events, and these girls have done this before. So it is kind of an overreaction. I just say beer, wings, sports, boobies. I mean, that's like popcorn and butter and salt. It all needs to go together, right?
That's right.
Let's get back on track. 5-0, 5-0. I believe, am I right on that, with Notre Dame and Virginia Tech? I could have been wrong on the schedule there, but yeah. So 5-0 and 5-0, right. Virginia Tech. Obviously, Notre Dame, a much better team than the Virginia Tech Hokies, but Virginia Tech is sneaky, sneaky good.
Yeah, and then what's the mindset of Notre Dame, really? They want to come out this week and just like, hey, we don't suck so bad like we did last week. They need to come out and pound Virginia Tech today. But did Virginia Tech just pick up on something in watching the Michigan tape from last week? I don't know. I don't even know if Notre Dame watched the tape themselves last week. That's the one you just throw the tape away or don't even watch it at all, something like that. But last year's game was at Virginia Tech. That was the Inner Sandman entrance, and we went out and shell-shocked them right off the bat. That's a huge win for Notre Dame, a big blowout win, actually. I kind of just look for that again today. Virginia Tech started the year off slow, but they have done some different things this year. They have gotten a little better as the season has gone on. I will say it will probably sluggish in the first half, and then Notre Dame takes control. I think the last spread that I saw was 17.5. I'm not sure if that's still the thing. I don't see Notre Dame winning by 17.5 this game. 2 touchdowns maybe, but not 3 scores.
What a year Baylor's having this year. I mean, are they as good as we're watching? I mean, they snuck out a win against West Virginia, and I know West Virginia has had its struggles this year, but Baylor just seems to be hitting on all cylinders this year.
Yeah, you can't really say many bad things about Baylor, and Matt Rule is an excellent head coach. When Notre Dame has a game like they had last week, everybody wants to fire Brian Kelly, bring in Matt Rule. They want to bring in Urban Meyer. They want to shut down the program. Matt Rule is one of those guys that would be like a good fit at Notre Dame. If Brian Kelly's got 2 more years left on his contract, usually by this point when coaches have 2 years left and they're successful like Brian Kelly has been, they get extended. but Brian Kelly hasn't been extended yet. Matt Rule is one of those guys Notre Dame would talk to. I think Baylor is the real deal. I don't know if this is going to be the year that they win the Big 12. The Big 12 is kind of one of those conferences like the Big 10 where the bottom half is just so awful, and that's kind of who they've been beaten up on. When they play Texas and play Oklahoma here later in the season, we'll really find out about Baylor. But I've been impressed by Baylor, and you have to give Matt Rule all the credit.
Speaking about getting credit, we're going to have to start giving credit to Jim Harbaugh. I mean, I'm not a Jim Harbaugh hater, but we just thought coming into this season that he's going to be on the hot seat. He's clearly not on the hot seat. He's getting key wins. They're playing great football. They got Maryland today. That's just going to be another just icing on the cake for him. What lit the fire under Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines' ass? Because they're playing completely different football now than what we thought they would be playing at the beginning of the season.
Well, if Michigan fans think that Michigan football has turned a corner because of what happened last week, I'm here to tell you that it hasn't. They're still going to lose to Ohio State this year. They're still going to end up with 3 losses. 4 losses, I don't know who the bowl game will match up with in the bowl game, but they could still be a 4-loss team this year. They're going to end the season with a worse record than Notre Dame. So if you're Michigan and you beat the crap out of Notre Dame like you did last week, but you still end up worse, you still have to point at the coaching staff. I don't think Michigan will ever get anything done with Harbaugh there. But definitely last week, that was not a program-changing win. They haven't turned a corner. Us Irish fans are still wondering what the hell happened in that game. You could watch 3 quarters of that game, and it's raining buckets, and Notre Dame is in prime defense when Michigan is clearly just running the ball at the middle every single time, and we just couldn't stop it. But no, it wasn't a program-changing win. Michigan's football program is still trash, and they're not going to do anything this year.
All right, it's time for the X's and the O's. Let's spend the next few minutes breaking down the X's and O's of some big games or games, maybe not so big, or little games, if you will, just games across the college football top 25 scene. We'll start with your Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. We just talked about them a little bit, but Notre Dame ranked number 16. I think Notre Dame fans would like to see them ranked a little bit higher. But the X's and the O's, Virginia Tech at Notre Dame.
Well, after that performance last week, if they fell out top 25, I wouldn't be mad about it because that was just awful. But I think today they do get back on track. I think at 17.5 points, like I said, is a little too big of a spread. I think Virginia Tech is just a little bit better than maybe what they're getting credit for. I could see Notre Dame winning by a couple of scores, but 17.5 I think is just too much.
We got North Carolina State at Wake Forest. The Demons have creeped up a couple notches from 25 to 23. Not a lot to talk about with this game, but there again, we've talked about this before. North Carolina State can sneak up on you.
Well, yeah, and you don't know exactly what Wake Forest is because a couple weeks ago they lost to Louisville. I don't know, it was something like 61 to 59 or whatever. You know, it's, can they stop an offense? They can definitely score a lot of points. NC State can definitely do that. They play good defense. They can slow you down because their offense can actually slow Wake Forest down. I can see NC State getting a win here. I want to see Wake Forest get a big win though. At one point this year, we were thinking Wake Forest was the second best team in the ACC behind Clemson, but you know everybody kind of cannibalizes themselves in the ACC if you're not named Clemson. So I think Wake Forest gets the win, but it wouldn't shock me if NC State won here.
In-state rivalry, Kansas State Wildcats, I got it right this week, and the Kansas Jayhawks. In-state rivalry, obviously Kansas State ranked 22. Kansas is a basketball team, not a football team, but what are your thoughts?
Well, we saw Kansas get a big win last week on a crazy ending.
Yes,
some kind of blocked punt or blocked field goal, and then I don't know what to call or what really happened, but they got another second shot at it and hit the field goal. Kansas State's come up with a big upset win over Oklahoma, and I think they're going to ride that momentum and take down Kansas, the powerhouse of Kansas this week. Although I love what Les Miles is doing at Kansas this year. I do think here in a couple of years, if he stays there, they're going to be a bowl team. I think he's got that program going in the right direction finally after decades of darkness there at Kansas. I think they got the right guy anyway to turn the program around. I just don't think they're going to get it done this week against Kansas State.
One of the big games of the week, the Bulldogs, struggling Bulldogs, go into the swamp against the Gators, the Florida Gators, number 8 and number 6. One of the big games to watch this week. Big implications for both teams. But I think there again, just from what I've seen from Georgia so far this year, I think Florida can not easily handle this, but certainly will walk out with the W.
Well, I think that Jake Fromm probably isn't going to win the game for Georgia. He's a great game manager. I don't know if anybody thinks that the game could fall on Jake Fromm and he can win. But here's what will win the game for Georgia. I'm taking Georgia in this game, actually. They have really great defense still. I know we got that ridiculous loss against South Carolina a couple weeks ago between the hedges. But they still play really great defense. And I think they have the top running game in the SEC still with DeAndre Swift. He averages about 110, 112 yards a game. That's the top running game in the SEC. I think on those two strengths, it's a close game, but I think Georgia actually pulls this one out.
Number 9, Utah Utes against the Washington Huskies. What say you?
Utah and Oregon, they're the class of the Pac-12 this year. At the beginning of the year, we were thinking Utah-Oregon could actually make the playoffs. I don't think Utah is quite the playoff team. I like Kyle Whittingham. He's a great head coach at Utah. I think Utah will get the win at Washington. But Oregon is the only team in the Pac-12 now with the outside chance of actually making the playoff here because they need some help, though. They had that one loss to Auburn, first game of the season. It knocked them down and so far in the rankings. Now they worked their way all the way back up to like 8th or something like that. I don't think Utah has the shot that Oregon has for the playoff. I think it's kind of rests on Oregon's shoulders there to be the Pac-12 representative. But I do think Utah can take care of business this year. They're a great team this year, and I think they get the win at Washington.
When was the last time we saw Clemson unranked? Woodford and Clemson today. I mean, I certainly think Clemson will get the win, but it seems odd, it feels odd that Clemson's not even ranked.
What are you talking about? They're ranked like 3rd or 4th.
All right, so I'm just looking at the thing right here. There's no number beside them. That's probably why I screwed that up. It's my fault. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
No, because, normally, right here, I'm looking
Clemson. They're playing with who? Wofford? Come on.
Oh, I know they're going to win.
If they're going to play teams like that, they should not be a top 5 team whatsoever.
This is so weird. I'm gonna complain to NCAA on their website because look, like here they've got number 22, they got 16 Notre Dame, number 8 Georgia, number 6 Florida. So man, I get in my stride, bro. That's why I count on you, man.
Yeah.
You got my
they're a playoff team. They're gonna make the playoffs. They're in the playoffs now. I mean, they're ranked. I want to say they're 3rd or 4th. I can't. Denver, Ohio State. It's flip-flop 3rd or 4th. But they're in the top 4, so nothing's going to change. The ACC is so terrible this year that Clemson's just going to waltz their way right into the playoffs. So I guess it's not Clemson's fault for being in a terrible conference, but at the same time, you can't just schedule teams like Wofford. Because we do talk about strength of schedule, and that does matter. That matters more than the conference championships, actually. And there'll be a point down the road when all this really comes into play, especially when they expand the playoffs to 8 teams, and they're going to look at strength of schedules then. And when you're playing teams that's not even the FBS division, that's going to hurt teams. And coaches get fired over that, actually, for not making the playoffs. So they need to do better scheduling. That's awful.
Well, we'll see what happens. So we got just a couple of minutes left here. Rick Riggin, our official college football contributor. Rick, walk us through this week. What are the X's and O's, the dark horses? What are the things to look out for? What are we looking at here this week in college football top 25?
It's really kind of a down weekend for college football. You do have Georgia, Florida. That is the main game. That's the big game. I don't think you'll see much change in the top 10. I don't see any crazy